afternoon. Hi. Thank you for joining us in our activation space. Isn't it beautiful? Give it up for Cara, our partnership digital media diva, our doer of all the things. For those of you who are not familiar with me yet, my name is Nicole Varner. I'm the executive director of the Congressional Black Caucus PAC, and I'd like, that's the appropriate response. And I'd like to welcome you all here today for our Manpower panel. This panel is a Black men's health and wellness panel hosted by the Conscious Lee. It is an important discussion focused specifically on health and wellness issues affecting Black men in our communities. In part, this conversation was spurred by the last election when we heard Black men felt unheard and that they had no spaces in our ecosystem. So this is for you, Black men. This is your space. This panel addresses the unique challenges. Friends in the back. This panel addresses the unique challenges that Black men face regarding their physical, mental, and emotional well-being. This vital conversation will explore practical solutions and resources to support better health outcomes for Black men in our community. I'd like to introduce the chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus PAC, Congressman Gregory Meeks from Queens, New York, my boss, the doer of all things, the raiser of all the money, the supporter of the Democratic caucus, Mr. Gregory Meeks.
Thank you, Nicole. Good afternoon, New Orleans. It's great to be here at the Essence Fair. Let me thank all of you first, because you are so significant and important. You know, we're here, have a good time, but you party, but you know, and I know that you're here, you have a purpose. And that's what this is all about. And the Congressional Black Caucus's PAC has a purpose. And so we've come and we are listening to individuals, listening to like the men that you're going to see here today. Some of you I saw yesterday when we talked about women's health, so that we can really go back on a congressional level and make some of those thoughts into policies. And I know what's going on right now when you see who's in the White House, et cetera, but we never stop. We never sit down. We never stop working to move forward. So we're always still thinking about policies, even when we don't have the vote in the House or in the Senate to get certain things passed, because we know in politics, it's not a short term, it's the long term, and we're gonna stay focused on it because we're gonna make it happen for our folks. Too many people have died, and too many people will die for us to rest. And what we are about to talk about today with Black men, and we were back there talking, who come from all different walks of life. It is significant that you're here because you will then take out these messages and make sure that they're spread around all of these United States of America. So serious times in which we live in. The camera of history is rolling, and it's looking at everybody, and everybody has a role in this historic moment. The question is, what role will you play? And you know, I go back, you know, you cannot sit back and just look on the sidelines. You need to be an active player in this fight, this continuing fight for freedom, justice, and equality, and making this nation a more perfect union. So what the CBC PAC is doing, and I'm then going to bring up a young man who represents this area. But we've got something we need all of your help on, because we can't sit and wait and be reactive. We've got to be proactive. And making Hakeem Jeffries the next Speaker of the House of Representatives, we've got work to do. We've got work to do. The PAC has designated, there's 22 seats that we know there's 8% of African Americans living in them, and those seats were won by 8% or less. And so if we drive up the African American turnout in those elections, we win those seats. And instead of having a day like we had just a few days ago, where we lost a critical vote by 3 votes, all we needed was 3 votes, and we changed that bill that we had. So the CBC PAC is now going all over this country to deliver the message that you're going to be hearing today. So if you come from Pennsylvania, the CBC PAC is going there. If you're from Ohio, we'll see you in Ohio. If you're from Cleveland, any city there, we'll see you there. If you're from Georgia, we'll see you there. If you're from Nebraska, we're going to see you there. If you're from California, we're going to see you there. We're going to go to all of these states to make a difference. And there is a brother who is right here in New Orleans, who is magnificent. He's so busy, he is the part of the CBC PAC's board, and he's also the vice chair of the CBC itself. He ran the state senate here in New Orleans, and he brings that wisdom, courage, and determination to the United States House of Representatives. He's a man that when he gives you his word, you can take it to the bank. He's here on a mission. He's not happy to just be elected to something. It's not even about him, he will tell you. It is about the people he represents. It is my honor, my privilege, and my pleasure to bring forth the congressman from the great state of Louisiana, representing the great city of New Orleans, the Honorable Troy Carter. Love you back.
Appreciate you, man. Give it up for Greg, the Honorable Chairman of the CBC PAC, Greg Meeks. For those of you who are visiting, welcome. Welcome to New Orleans. Welcome to Essence Festival. Come back for Jazz Fest. Welcome to Essence Festival, a time that we come together to explore, enjoy, learn, love, and talk about everything about us. Loving us, believing in us, being a part of the discussion of what makes us tick, what makes us better, what makes us stronger as we celebrate Essence. The CBC PAC, you heard it all. I can't add anything to what this illustrious leader has told you about our effort. Our efforts and our missions are clear. We're going to flip the House. We're going to make Hakeem Jeffries the first African-American Speaker of the House. Greg Meeks is going to get his gavel back, so he's chairman of Foreign Affairs again. And we're going to make a difference, and we're going to fight for the people of New Orleans, Louisiana, and all 50 states, because that's what our job is to do. So thank you for being here. I know some of you may have been here yesterday when there was a powerful panel of sisters. I mean, a powerful panel of sisters who had some real love, energy, and education to impart. Today, we're going to be blessed to have some powerful brothers to talk about those things that are important about our health, our mental health, our physical health, our contribution to society. I want to thank you and welcome you to New Orleans. Welcome you to New Orleans. Those of you from here, good to see you, my home people. Let's continue loving, living, enjoying. And remember, this party is a party with a purpose. How about a clap for that? I have the distinct honor of being able to bring somebody to the stage next who is a dynamic leader. She's my sister, not by blood, but by heart. She's an outstanding member of the United States Congress. She happens to be the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. She hails from Brooklyn, y'all. She is the honorable, the outstanding chairwoman, Congresswoman, Yvette D. Clarke. Give it up. I think she might be a Delta, too. I don't know if they got any of y'all out there.
Let me thank my brother Troy Carter, our first vice chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, for being such a gracious host. Let me thank the chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus PAC, my brother from another mother, Congressman Gregory Meeks of Queens, New York. Let me thank the leadership, Nakara and the crew at Rolling Seas for convening us all here together. Sisters and brothers, it's such an honor to be with you here in NOLA. Let me say that today's panel is extremely important. As we gear up, as we mobilize and we exercise our rights in the United States of America, we need our men to be at their prime. Whatever that may be, we need to make sure that they're healthy and they endure through this battle as we stand together to get this victory. Y'all hear me? I don't sound like y'all. Y'all hear me? I'm gonna give you two stories. There's a man in my life, and he was given some instructions. He was given some instructions from his wife. And his wife told him, they're doing prostate cancer screening in the community. I want you to go get your screening, and don't come back here. Don't come back to this house until you get screened. He was under big threat because that woman took care of everything for this man. What he ate, made sure he had everything he needed to be the strongest leader of our family. That was my father. That very day after that screening, he received a call, stage 4. Had he not listened to my mother, had he looked at the line of men waiting to be screened and said, oh, I'm not going to bother this time, my father would not be 89 years old right now. 89 years old right now. And so I understand this is a man who has lived with a number of chronic conditions. He had to have heart stents put in. Again, my mother's like, you don't feel good, let's go to the doctor. And he followed the instructions. Oftentimes, brothers don't want to hear it. I'll give you another story. A man in my life, always my ride or die, he would not listen to instructions. And so he goes out, the only snowstorm in the year. He's thinking, you know, I'm okay, I'm healthy, everything is cool. He goes out, we're in Brooklyn, New York, he shovels the snow. Not only does he shovel the snow at my house, he shovels the snow for the neighbor and a whole bunch of other folks. He gets to a snowball fight. He goes down the street where I have my campaign headquarters. He's like, I'm gonna go shovel that. I don't feel too good, but I'm gonna go shovel. He died that day. That was my partner of 30 years. I've been saying, my brother, I need you to go. I need you to go to the doctors. I need you to take care of your health. It was always, soon, I'm going soon. I'm going soon. This was right after the pandemic. We went through the pandemic, got through safely, never caught COVID. But that day, his heart couldn't take it anymore. He had no idea. And it took him out, shoveling snow. So I give you two stories. One of a man who listened, another one of a man who just ran out of time, heard the message, but never followed through. And so I want to tell all you brothers who are going to be in this conversation today, we need you. We need each and every one of you to be in your prime, to be at your best, to make sure that you take care of yourselves. Not only your physical health, but it's a whole lot going on out there, messing with our heads, messing with our minds. We need to make sure that each and every man understands that it's okay to seek out therapy. It's okay to get with that men's group, because you have not made it this far to give up now. You have not made it this far to give up now. You are the strongest of the strong. Understand, our people survived the Middle Passage. That's why you're here. A whole bunch of our folk didn't make it. So listen, the CBC got your back. We know you got ours. We got work to do. It's about to go down. Hello? Oh, wait a minute. It's about to go down. And we need every healthy brother to be part of this movement, because it's not a moment, this is a movement. The work we have to do has to be sustained, not only for this generation, but future generations to come. So thank you so much for having me, my brothers. Thank you for holding this panel. It's important for brothers to speak to brothers, because I know sometimes, like my boo, hard-headed, but they'll hear it from their peers. So on with the program. I'm going to surrender this mic to somebody. I don't know who it is, but God bless you. God keep you. As we say in Brooklyn, one love, bless up, and walk good.
Thank you for that lovely, timely word. Good afternoon, church. I won't be before you long. My name is Jessica Bellamy. I work under Cara Johnson as the Associate Director of Social Media behind CBC PAC and the Rolling Sea Action Fund. I will be introducing our panel and our creator and talent. We want to start with Mr. George Conscious Lee, also known as the Conscious Lee. George the Conscious Lee is a dynamic orator, innovator, educator, and influential content creator whose work sits at the intersection of media, socio-political issues, popular culture, with a dedicated, engaged audience of over 3 million across TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Ooh, come on now. Born in Bryan, Texas, to incarcerated parents, Lee overcame childhood adversity to attend the University of Oklahoma, where he received a bachelor's and 2 master's degrees while becoming one of the top college debaters in the country and a member of the first African-American duo to become #1 seed in the national debate tournament. He is purposefully provocative as a tool to elevate and educate around pertinent topics through social media content, speaking engagements, lectures, and online courses through his Conscious University platform. A 2022 recipient of YouTube's Content Creator Choice Award and NAACP Image Award nominee for Outstanding Social Media Personality, his views have been featured in Rolling Stone, Forbes, Essence, The Washington Post, The Atlantic, Business Insider, and The New York Times. Please help me welcome our host, George Lee. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to be in charge. Next up, we have Mr. Wayne Felton. Wayne Felton is a content creator, strategist, and community builder who uses storytelling to drive awareness, empathy, and action. With a background in educational equity, organizational leadership, and digital engagement, Wayne creates authentic, emotionally resonant content that helps brands and nonprofits connect meaningfully with their audiences. From social justice to fatherhood to mental health, Wayne's content bridges the personal and the political, always rooted in values and real-life experience. He brings clarity, creativity, and purpose to every partnership, offering a trusted voice for campaigns to inspire, mobilize, and make an impact. Please help me welcome Mr. Wayne Felton. Next on our panel, we have Mr. Charles E.J. Phipps. He is the Senior Director for Policy, Advocacy, and Legal Affairs at the Urban League of Louisiana. As a member of the League's Policy and Social Justice team, Charles provides strategic leadership in the development and implementation of the organization's policy campaigns and legislative agendas. This includes shepherding the League's Sea Change Collective, a data-driven, community-oriented, and outcomes-focused initiative committed to identifying policy and practical solutions to close the racial wealth gap in the greater New Orleans region. Charles also serves as an in-house counsel on policy, legal, and other matters identified by the CEO. Prior to joining ULLA, Charles was an attorney at Waters, Cross, and Paul in the firm's New Orleans office. At WKP, Charles was a member of the firm's litigation group and represented plaintiffs involved in complex civil matters. He also served as law clerk to the Honorable Omar K. Mason within the Orleans Parish Civil District Court prior to joining WKP. Charles is also a graduate of Loyola University, New Orleans, where he earned his bachelor's degree, and Tulane University Law School, where he earned his Juris Doctor and a sports law certificate. He enjoys professional affiliations with the Louisiana State Bar Association and the Greater New Orleans Louis A. Martinet Legal Society. Also, civically, he is a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Oh. All right now, shout out to the Alphas. Thank you for joining us. Do we need to do a roll call? Next on our panel, we have Representative Malcolm Kenyatta. Yes. He's a third-generation North Philadelphia native, a legislator currently serving in the Pennsylvania General Assembly. In 2025, he was chosen by his peers to help shape legislative policy at the national level. He earned a bachelor's in public communications and a minor in political science from Temple University, a master's in strategic and digital communications from Drexel University, and completed the Harvard Kennedy School's Executives in State and Local Government program. He was appointed by President Joe Biden to chair the Presidential Advisory Commission on Advancing Educational Equity, Excellence, and Economic Opportunity for Black Americans in 2023. He is a barrier-breaking public figure, becoming the first openly LGBTQ+ person of color and one of the youngest people elected to the Pennsylvania General Assembly in 2018. Throughout his career, he has been a vocal proponent for protecting workers' rights and rooting out government corruption and waste. He holds multiple legislative leadership roles, including as a member of the powerful House State Government Committee that oversees state agencies' elections, where he chairs the subcommittee on government operations. He's also the chair of Financial Services and Banking Subcommittee in the House Commerce Committee, and as a member of the House Professional Licensure and Judiciary Committees. Representative Kenyatta lives in North Philadelphia with his husband, Dr. Matthew Kenyatta, and their dog, Cleo. Please help me welcome Representative Malcolm Kenyatta. Next up, we have Mayor Brandon Scott. Mr. Scott serves as the 52nd mayor of Baltimore and the youngest person to hold the position in over a century. Mayor Scott, round of applause, yes. Mayor Scott is committed to ending gun violence, investing in our youth, restoring the public's trust in government, and creating a more equitable Baltimore for all. In November 2024, he made history as the first Baltimore mayor in 20 years to win re-election. Amen? Yes. Yes. During his first term, Mayor Scott spearheaded historic reductions in violence through Baltimore's first ever comprehensive violence prevention plan. Under his leadership, the city also saw an 18% decrease in vacant properties, reaching the lowest number in 2 decades. Growing up in Park Heights, Mayor Scott witnessed firsthand the effects of disinvestment in Baltimore's communities and youth. This experience shaped his administration's policies, resulting in substantial investments in education, recreation, including 11 new and renovated schools, 4 new or renovated recreation centers, and $100 million dedicated to previously stalled housing projects in underserved neighborhoods. 5 core pillars continue to guide his administration into his second term: building public safety, prioritizing youth, clean and healthy communities, equitable neighborhood development, and responsible stewardship of city resources. Before becoming mayor in 2020, Scott was unanimously elected president of Baltimore City Council by his colleagues after serving city council for 8 years, representing Baltimore's 2nd District. He was one of the youngest people ever elected to the council, marking the beginning of his dynamic political career. Mayor Scott has emerged as a political leader known for his authentic, straightforward approach that resonates with his constituents. He serves as co-chair of Mayors Against Illegal Guns and as 2nd vice president of the African American Mayors Association. He is often sought after as an advisor and policy expert on violence reduction strategies by organizations and other elected officials, including the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention under former President Joe Biden. He previously chaired the National League of Large Cities Council. Mayor Scott is a community leader, public servant, and son of Baltimore City. As a proud Baltimorean and lifelong resident, he is a graduate of Merville High School and St. Mary's College, Maryland. He resides in Northeast Baltimore with his wife and children. Before we put him to the stage, I want to bring light to this and give specific details on homicide being down 22.7% and non-fatal shootings being down 19% since being under this man's leadership. So as we welcome him to the stage, can we please give him a standing ovation for the work that he has done in the city of Baltimore as we welcome him to the stage. That was not on the script. I just felt we needed to give flowers when they're due, especially for our black men. So thank you for the hard work you put into the city of Baltimore. Oops. Okay, lastly, we have Congressman Troy Carter. Yes. The Honorable Troy A. Carter serves as Congressman for Louisiana's 2nd District. Now in his 3rd term in the U.S. House of Representatives, Congressman Carter was first elected to the 117th Congress. He serves on the Exclusive Committee on Energy and Commerce in the 119th Congress and continues to serve on the House Homeland Security Committee and the Democratic Steering and Policy Committee. He was also selected by Democratic leadership to be Deputy Whip on the House floor. Congressman Carter was also elected first Vice Chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus and is a member of the Regional Leadership Council. Congressman Carter previously served on the House Committees on Small Business and Transportation and Infrastructure. A graduate of Xavier University of Louisiana, Congressman Carter earned a BA in Political Science and Business Administration and later with a Master of Science in Business from the University of Holy Cross. He has been awarded honorary doctorate degrees of Humane Letters from Xavier University and Southern University of New Orleans for his contributions to humanity. In 1991, he made history as the first African American elected to represent Louisiana's 102nd District in Louisiana House of Representatives, where he also served as the youngest ever floor leader for New Orleans. He was later elected as the first African American to represent New Orleans City Council's District C. As Louisiana State Senator for the 7th District, he served as a Senate Minority Leader, becoming the first African American to represent the district. As legislative leader, Congressman Carter has authored and co-authored hundreds of laws focusing on infrastructure, economic development, women's health care, critical justice reform, and reducing homelessness. He is a steadfast advocate for civil rights, health care, equity, and environmental justice, and plenty more. Please help me welcome the Honorable Representative Troy Carter. I'm being told to let you all know if you need to use the bathroom, it is directly out this door to your right is the door under the clock, in case you need to go out there. The green doors, yes, the green doors. Thank you for your time. We were going to kick it off to Mr. Lee here and get started with our panel.
Yes. Thank you to everybody that's here. It's a lot of beautiful faces in the audience, and I want to appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for being here. We finna have us a real nice, candid conversation. Jumping right in, we know that there is an inherent interconnectedness between masculinity and mental health. And we know regardless of how much the world try to tell us that masculinity only shows the emotion of anger or only shows the emotion of frustration, Wayne, to you first, my brother, how has the male loneliness epidemic impacted black men specifically? And what do you think healthy masculinity look like?
I turned it, boom, there we go, I turned it off. I think that when we talk about the male loneliness epidemic, one of the things that we're talking about is the intentional isolation of men. And there's a rugged individualism we see across the country, and that becomes more and more inherent and present online. And so I think between the types of forums, more and more we're seeing men just sitting in spaces by themselves, and it is an easy place for them to be radicalized. When we talk about black men specifically, black men have always thrived in community. And we've always built community in very specific ways. I was just talking to my barber the other day. He recently moved from a bigger barbershop into a single salon space. And I was like, bro, you kind of just killed the conversation across the board, because what used to be 6 chairs in a space, all of us being able to come in, a guy over there playing checkers, that is now one stall, one spot that I'm now sitting watching SportsCenter with you. And so I think that there's that consolidation of space creates this element where everyone is doing everything by themselves, which then leads itself to one of the elements to your question about what does healthy masculinity look like. I think healthy masculinity is developed in community. As we're told, when you're in that barbershop and you're talking about, this is the thing I'm experiencing, you have a group of men who can say, bro, you need to go back and talk to your girl, or, hey man, you need to calm down, or, hey man, you should be happy about that promotion, bro. No, you actually need to enjoy that thing. And so the emotions of joy or sadness or concern, or even being a knucklehead and needing to ask for forgiveness, these things are instilled in us in community. But when we eliminate community and all community is happening in virtual spaces, there is no accountability. And accountability isn't always negative. Accountability is actually grabbing your arms around someone and moving them in the direction that is best for them.
And feel free to add on to that. I'm actually I know it's on the script. I'm curious though, Malcolm. So in us talking about healthy masculinity, I'm reminded of how I'm gonna call it homo negativity impacts us as black men. How would you say we could be mindful of talking about healthy masculinity in a way that doesn't reinforce homophobia?
You know, first I have to just start with the most important words in any language. Thank you, all of you, for being here, being together. This has been a really hard week, and we're having a conversation about mental health and about the stress that we're all enduring, and we should say the thing out loud. This is a really crappy fucking time for the country. And I think the reality is we need to be here right now, like, and not just on this stage. We need to be with each other. And so I don't know how Essence knew that they were going to pass this bill right before Essence, but I'm so happy to be in space with a bunch of black folks in this moment where black people are explicitly under attack. But I do want to take it back, Lee, to really the genesis of your question about loneliness. I think a part of the isolation happens in the ways that we break up what it means to be a black man. You know, if we say to every black gay man that you have no right to be in spaces with black men, then A, we have taken out core contributors to that conversation that happens at the barbershop, because whether or not, you know, somebody to you is visibly a part of the LGBTQ community, there is no conversation that was happening in the barbershop without a black gay man who was present. Yeah. And so we were contributing to that conversation in ways that are deeply helpful, particularly to help our straight brothers understand our sisters, because we're able to engage with them in ways that you really need to have access to, but they're not always comfortable sharing with you. And so we have really been a bridge, and I think a lot about, you know, Huey P. Newton, in part because my husband's from Oakland, well, from Northern California, and so I have to think about anything that happens in Oakland or in the Bay constantly. And one of the things he said in a speech that he gave in 1970, talking about women and, at the time, homosexuals in the movement, he said something that I think about often, that maybe homosexuals have the ability to actually be the most revolutionary. Because I think every single day, to be openly gay in this world and to be unapologetic about it, first of all, we have to engage and grapple with what masculinity looks like at so many different levels. And there are so many folks who, you know, sometimes people say this to me as a compliment. Oh, Malcolm, you're like the straightest gay person I know.
Cringe.
And I'm like, well, I get what you mean by that. But instead of looking at somebody who breaks whatever rule you think exists, instead of challenging the rule, you make me the exception. When the reality is that there are so many of us who have access to, because of the distinctions that we have access to a part of the puzzle. And if we're gonna put that puzzle together to try to figure out who we are, you can't exclude folks who have some of the pieces. There is no civil rights movement without black gay folks. There is no Harlem Renaissance without black gay folks. And so much of what we talk about as black culture is also gay culture. And so I think that we cut off our nose to spite our face when we push out certain folks from our communities and conversations. And that's why I'm so appreciative of this conversation, because a lot of times when we talk about black men, the straight is silent. And that's really what we mean. And I will end with this note, because I heard this all the time when I ran for office. I had somebody who was not supportive of my run for office. And this guy would say, well, you know, if you elect Malcolm, Malcolm's gonna bring Center City values to North Philly. And by Center City, he meant gay values to North Philly. And I had to say to this, to this guy, I'm black every day of the week, twice on Sundays, I'm reminded that I am black. There is no space I can go to and not be a black man. And frankly, when you walk into a lot of gay spaces, the white is silent. And so when we think about mental health for black gay men in particular, the outcomes are worse because there are no spaces for black gay men to exist that's like not a party. And there are a lot of black gay folks who don't want to go to a party. I'm sorry, I'm very boring. I only go to parties because my husband makes me. So like, where are the spaces for folks like me to exist? I swear to God, to exist. And so I think that that's very important. And that intersectionality is key to our power in facing up against visceral white supremacy who do not care who you're married to. They just see that you are black.
Yeah. So with that being said, amazing response. Charles and Mayor Scott. How do y'all think that the role of mental health plays into the negative stigmas that black men have, especially when it comes to us being vulnerable?
Well, I think it plays a huge part, right? When you think about the systems and how they systematically try to point us in a corner and also put us against our own best interests, right? I think when you break somebody down, when you tell them that if you're a black man, you can only express anger, you're the big bad buck, right? There's stereotypes that they just change and update with the times that they have been using since they discovered us out of the caves they came out of in Africa, right? But when you add on to all these other things, the situations that we live in, how they systematically remove the ability for men to even be in the household, all of those things, all that stuff builds up. And then you start to look at yourself. And then we sometimes internalize it. And we say, well, we all heard it growing up, right? All of us, right? Boy, you got to toughen up. Don't cry. Don't tell nobody about your feelings. Keep that to yourself. It's weak if you tell somebody you're sorry. It's weak if you tell another man you love him. It's weak if you don't just deal with your own issues yourself and you go ask somebody for help. When exactly the opposite is true. What's actually weak is for you to hold on to that. Take it out on yourself or your family or your loved ones or your children or your wife or your husband, right? Or somebody out in the community. What makes you strong is being a person that says, I need help. I need that. And we know why it is. We know they want us to be that way. We know that they pump a lot of money into trying to convince us to buy into these stereotypes that black men have to be this all angry all the time person that never should laugh, that always has to be angry, that can't talk about their feelings. If they go see a therapist, something's wrong with them, all of those things. And we know how that plays into what happens in our communities. But I think, and we were all talking backstage, you sparked it off, asking everybody if they had a therapist, right? And we have to continue to normalize black men openly talking about their feelings, normalizing black men holding each other accountable when we step out of line, right? I always talk about that. For me, I got a therapist, I got a wife, but I also got a group of friends that people always say, like, well, I know people get mad at you online and say, I'm like, well, look, I know I done stepped out of line when my homeboys called me and said, like, yo, you ain't had to talk to that reporter like that yesterday. You going too far now. Or when we just recently had this in my friend group where one of my friends just went off on a group of my friends, and we all just had to go check, like, hey, are you all right? You need something? What's going on, right? But back in the day, that would have been met with a different response, right? All of us have evolved as we've grown. Back in the day, we just went over there and whooped his ass and been like, all right, now we back to being good. But we've evolved in a way of understanding, but we have to normalize that. And I think we talked about it earlier. When we're in this world, especially for our young brothers and sisters, where everything is about them, everything is quick, everything is online, everything is so individualized, we have to fight twice as hard, 3 times as hard to break through that, to help them understand and know that they are only going to be the best them if they are that way collectively, that the individualized is not going to get a cut for them.
I think the only thing I would add to that, Mayor, and I really appreciate you sort of highlighting the historical stigmas that we face as black men, right? And what I would add is sort of the requirement that when you're addressing your mental health that it requires, right? Which is vulnerability, right? Which is to say to yourself, like, I want and need and deserve to be seen, right? I deserve to be healthy. I deserve to be expressing myself with authenticity, right? And so some of the work that I'm seeing, and so from a policy perspective, right, is that, like, it's very difficult at the Urban League of Louisiana when we're talking about building generational wealth and we aren't talking about mental health, right? Because before you can talk about sort of the primary way that you can build generational wealth, which is owning a home, right? You got to talk about the realities of home ownership. You got to talk about the realities of, I don't even see myself as a homeowner because of the historical disinvestment in my community, right? When you're talking about owning a business, right? We hear that all the time, right? And it's really interesting about sort of the stigmas, like, they come on both sides, right? They're both positive stigmas and they're negative stigmas, right? Like, the easiest, everyone needs to just pull up their bootstraps and own a business. Well, it's really difficult being an entrepreneur, right? There takes certain investment to be an entrepreneur, right? And we're talking about the accessibility of wages, right? Everyone earns a wage. But we don't talk about the stress associated with that wage. When as a black man, you're expected to be a provider. You're expected to sort of be a protector, right? And so that takes a sort of vulnerability, to your point, Mayor, about I need to go to my community, right? And be willing to accept the critiques. Be willing to say, you know what, y'all? I'm really struggling in this way when the world is telling you that you don't have the right, the audacity to struggle, right? And so I think that, you know, from a vulnerability perspective, it also highlights the realities of disinvestment, the realities of sort of historical racism, right? Which is to say that when you are trying to break through, our job is even harder now, right? Because first you have to acknowledge the harm. You have to meet them where they are to say, it is really difficult right now. Hard stop, right? I empathize with you. I see you. This is your reality, right? And not this sort of pie in the sky of like, we can all do better, right? It's going to get better. Well, it's not better for me right now. And so when you're dealing about mental health, right, it takes about, and we're doing a lot of work to talk with people and not at them, right? Do we take the time to really invest and know our neighbors, right? One of the things that we used to do in the black community, we used to have a front porch community, right? And now we have a backyard community, right? As if I know you and you're safe and you're welcome in my home, then I can accept your critiques. But until then, anybody outside, you don't have the right to help me. And I think that's a part of what we're trying to break through in mental health.
And I think that is a part of what causes the tension between how a lot of our young men, and some men our age, are being pulled into the MAGA, alt-right, forget those women, they're the reason why we're not getting where we at, to Congressman, I'm gonna say Troy, to Malcolm. What is it that y'all think appeals to black men uniquely when it comes from the opposition, the red pill MAGA people?
First of all, I want to thank you, young brothers. I appreciate your perspective from your lived experiences. And we're all different. The beauty of who we are, we're not a monolith. We don't have to think the same. We don't have to look the same. The notion that we have to all be the same is a trick. Our diversity among ourselves is also our strength. So we can be different. We can love who we want. We can do what we want. We can go where we want. We can be the people that we want to be without having to explain or apologize for it. We are everything under the sun and then some. And we're proud of it. We got to continue to learn to love what God made. He made our hair as long, as short as he wanted to be, as straight or as kinky as he wanted to be. We're as tall, as short, as wide, as robust as he wanted to be. Our skin color is as dark or as light and in between as he wanted to be. And guess what? It's all good. We're different. And so we have to be comfortable in our spaces as we are. And we have to embrace each other as we are. And we've got to love each other. And the brother just touched on it. We got to talk more to each other and less about each other. We've got to recognize that our health, our mental health, our physical health, our emotional health, we're in control of that. When we drive our expensive BMWs, our Mercedes, our Yukons, or whatever, when that check engine light comes on, you pull it over because you don't want to blow a gasket. You don't want to mess up that fine car. When the brake light comes on, you get to the first brake shop. But when the check light goes on in your head, your heart, your body, we just push on through. Why? Because we've been told that big boys don't cry. Suck it up, man. Come on. Suck it up. You can take this. When I was a little boy, my grandmother would ask me, Troy, are you okay? Are you blue? That was a way of asking about my mood, my mental place. We don't ask that anymore. We ask if you're hungry. Did you do your homework? Did you clean the house? We ask all those things, but we don't ask, hey man, how you doing? No, I mean, how you really doing? How you feel? So we don't feel comfortable talking about it because we're not supposed to feel anything but macho. You know, I tell my two sons, I say, hey man, life is rough. Let's rap. Let's talk about what's going on. You know, if things aren't going right, we got to talk about it. But you have to listen so they'll talk, and then talk so they'll listen.
Let me ask you a follow-up question real fast. So when it comes to being like macho, do you think it is the Republicans that are more effective at making our boys feel more macho? And we don't, I'm trying to figure out how is they appealing to all our young men, you feel me?
I think Donald Trump did some stupid stuff. And people thought that was him being cool and being macho. And then I was standing next, and I'm not going to say his name, although I probably should. There's a rapper who said to me, and well, not to me, to a reporter standing next to me, and I walked off. He said that black voters, black men, were feeling, quote his word, quote unquote, feeling Trump because they had RICO charges too. No, man, I ain't feeling you because you did something illegal. You suggest that all black men do things that are illegal and we associate with that? We got to break that. When they say this bull about you can only identify with people that look like you, but no one else, we can identify with everybody. People that look like us, people that talk like us, people that look different, we can do all that. But when Trump said, are you better off before with black president or with Democrats, what do you have to lose? Give me a try. And every day since that, he's been putting his foot in our tails. He's been taking away our resources. He's been breaking down laws and rules that we've had. He's been taking away now $17 million in Medicaid that will cripple our community. Yeah, brother, what they're doing is, it's an okey doke. They're teaching us the old slavery trick of not liking who you are, therefore not liking anybody that looks like you. And we've got to look them in the eye and say, you damn lie. We got to say, yes, the Democratic Party, for which I'm a proud member of, first vice chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, I will tell you, we may not be perfect, but we're the best you got. And with you, and here's the invitation, with you, we will get better. With you, we will hear you more. But you can't say, I'm going to throw away these brothers and sisters who's only been in leadership for a hot second. They've had leadership since the beginning of our country. And you say, I'm going to give them another shot. Shit, we ain't had it. Shucks, we haven't had a chance.
No, you had
Hey, we had real talk, man. It's real talk.
We are. I just want to jump in on this one. I think it's important. I think that we always say, first of all, my grandmother would say, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. So we just start there, right? The first time. But to your question about what's so appealing to some of us, black men in particular, to the red hats or the dunce caps, as I like to call them, I think it's a twofold thing, right? We know that historically, when you think about the systems, when you think about parties in this country, there is something to say for black men in particular, right? Especially for no disrespect, my dear brother, for those of us on this side of the stage who in the 90s were super predators, right? Like that wasn't Republicans saying that, that was Democrats that said. I say that to people all the time. I was sat down 7 times in handcuffs from the time of 14 to 22 simply because I was black and outside in my city, and it was a Democratic president that decided, and his wife, that said that that's what we're going to talk about and treat them that way. That's true. But at the same time, we have to be honest, and we're talking about being honest today. We know that we still have a long way to go, in particular with men, and I'm going to only talk for black men because that's all I know, where some of us have never wanted it to be for everybody. Some black men have always only wanted to be, the individualization of it. They want to be the one in the room. They don't want to be the one that gets in the room and say, all right, y'all, we in here, everybody come in. They don't, some of us, and we just got to keep it real, some black men still think, I heard it every place I went across this country during the campaign, think that, well, a woman can't run the country. And I said, who ran your household growing up? My grandmother. I said, so repeat that to yourself again, right? We have to break that down and be honest that some of us, our brothers, we can love them, but we're going to have to love them from afar because they gone and they ain't never coming back. The ones that we can get back and that we actually want back, those who understand that we cannot do the same thing to women, to gay people, to Hispanics, to Muslims that they did to us. Because as I continue to say to folks, as some black people still say to me, well, this stuff going on with ICE ain't got nothing to do with us. I said, let me explain this to you very, very quickly. They might not start with you, but one thing white folk gonna do, they always gonna come back home. They gonna end at you. And we have to understand that and bring people back to our side by showing them that you're not going to change this country in 4 years or 8 years, right? Folks should have never expected that President Obama was going to be the president and then like all black people's problems were going to go away. This isn't a Marvel movie. This isn't the Marvel universe. This is real life that we're talking about here. And we have to build systems that last long, and we have to build benches. We have to make progress and then allow the folks coming behind you to be the people to take it across the finish line. But if we gonna be real, and real is the only way I know how to be, we gotta let some of our folks go and let them know that when the tides turn in a few years, don't turn in that red hat for a dashiki. Stay over there with them.
And Lee, before we move on, because I think this is probably one of the most important questions that we have to try to get to the heart of. And I think a little bit is, we have to give ourselves a break. A part of the challenge is this. And I keep reminding folks of what happened this year on Dr. King's birthday ever. I'm talking about the inauguration. I think Congress should have moved it so it wasn't on Dr. King's birthday, but here we go. The people sitting behind this guy and
just to be clear, the Congress, they could have moved it.
They wasn't gonna move it.
We didn't have the power to.
That's
we
true.
would have moved it.
We would have moved it.
To be clear.
Congressman's like, I would have introduced that immediately. We would have moved it. So let me just say 2 things. So the first is, if you look at all the folks who are sitting behind him, it wasn't members of the cabinet. It were the owners of all of the media conglomerates in the country. And so a part of the challenge we have, because we have folks, well, Democrats got to message better. You can have the best message in the world, but if it does not get to people, then they've never heard it. And so we're back to the if a tree falls in the forest, that whole thing, and who hears it. And we should be very clear that the algorithm is intentionally altered in ways that keep our messages from reaching people who we need it to reach. And so I think a part of the challenge is, how do we get people back IRL? How do we begin to engage with people in real life? Because I have found this over and over and over again. When I talk to people in my district at their doors, in real life, in their living rooms, we're not having the same conversations with those same people online. Online. The whole conversation is different.
The internet is not a real place.
It's not. And so I think we should be very clear that there are intentional efforts to make sure that people are not hearing our messages. And Elon is like not even he's not even like hiding it. He is like a supervillain that is out there, you know, Dr. Evil online, telling us that he is gonna make sure you follow him, that you see his tweets before you see anybody else. And so how do we bump up against that? That's a real challenge. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I think Democrats, we have a really hard job, because a part of our challenge is that we are seen as defending institutions that have failed folks. So when you say to somebody, I want to defend democracy, and democracy has not resulted in me having a good family sustaining job, then I don't have a lot of rap for you. When you say that I want to defend the Capitol, and the Capitol allowed George Floyd to be murdered and to not pass the type of legislation that maybe could have prevented that, then we're in a really tough job. And so I think that we have to get better at not defending institutions, and there is no easy silver bullet to this, because the same folks who have screwed up the institution, like Donald Trump, get the ability to go in and say the institution sucks without telling you that they are the reason it sucks. Yeah. And then we're coming in and saying that we want to make sure we're defending the ability for folks to have health care, access to vote, and this is the system that enables those things. We have a really complex job, and when you decide to do what I did and run to be vice chair of the party or run to be a member of Congress, then folks say, well, you're there, why didn't you fix it? I got here 5 months ago. Yeah. And so people are asking me, well, Malcolm, what about 2016? I wasn't an elected official in 2016. I don't know nothing about what happened in 2016 and the super delegates. I was not a super delegate, okay? I don't know nothing about that, but that's the challenge that we have, and I don't think there are any easy answers to that, to be honest.
Let me just have a second piggyback on that, because you hit on a whole lot. The expectation that the world's going to change overnight because Malcolm got elected 5 months ago, or 5 years ago, or 50 years ago, because one person can't do it. Listen, we fight every day in the United States Congress with 60 strong members of the Black Caucus. But guess what? We're outvoted in the House and the Senate. So we can have the expectation that we should move the date of the inauguration. We can't. We should impeach the president. We can't. We should repeal these crazy and block these. We can't, because we're in the minority. But we're only in the minority because we don't vote. Because we've got to come out and we've got to vote. And you got to vote for people that will fight for you. And unfortunately, what ends up happening, whether it's the state house, the local government, or in the Congress, we can only do what we can do when we have numbers to do it.
For sure. And just, if I can really quickly, if I could take it from the macro to the micro, right, and talk about macho for a second, because I think the macro is we need to vote, we need to defend institutions, like, and 100%, I'm online every day screaming with you. And on a micro level, the people, specifically the young men who fall victim to the idea of wanting to be macho, are the ones who are afraid. And so one of the reasons why it is easier, in my opinion, for Republicans to scoop people into the right-wing pipeline is because it is a fear-based pathway. And so my youngest son, he's 7 years old, he loves the Ninja Turtles. And so we watch everything Ninja Turtles, every version of the Ninja Turtles that exists.
You're raising them right, you're raising them right.
Yes, and so every version of Ninja Turtles that exists, we've watched. And one of the things I'm always fascinated by is how Master Shredder is able to recruit people into the foot. And who he is recruiting into the foot is scared young men who do not have the ability to fight for themselves because the institutions of New York City have failed them. But they don't trust those institutions to work for them, and so they feel like if I can be a part of a group that will make me stronger, I will be fine. It's the same thing that where gangs existed at one point as a means of protection and devolved into recruiting scared young men who needed the ability to try to find a way to not be isolated anymore. I think that the right-wing pipeline is very much the same thing. And so when we talk about masculinity, I also think we need to deal with the fact that macho is an act. And Google it sometime. There's a, if you look at bodybuilders, right? People talk about the bodybuilder's suit. Because right here on a bodybuilder at their shoulder, you could literally lift that part of them up and pull out a regular sized human, because it's always at the traps right here that is the weird part. It's like they have a shoulder and then the rest of their body. It's a suit they put on.
I'm gonna take your word for that.
Yeah, it's a suit it's a suit. It looks like a suit they put on. It's the weirdest thing in the world, right? And so what I'm saying is that macho is the suit they put on that is steroided up on the idea of if I do this, I will be strong. And what we need to begin to do through community is, and I'm gonna be a little preachy for a second, I'm a pastor's kid, is we need to get into the space of helping young men understand that when I am weak, I am strong. That when I am putting myself in a position to be humble, when I'm putting myself in a position to be vulnerable, when I'm putting myself in a position to be in community, that's where my strength lies, not in the individuality of steroiding up on a bunch of violent ideologies that will only lead me to being by myself in the end. My dad told me when I was 17 years old, if you do not figure out who you are, the world will figure it out for you. And we need to help young men go on that journey of self-discovery so they stop taking the steroids of this individualism and this violence that leads to them being a part of this pipeline.
Amen.
And I think that takes us, I want to acknowledge the elephant in the room. I know that Essence is for black women. I see in the audience, it's majority black women. I know that when Tory Lanez, Meg Stallion, Diddy, G, P. Diddy want to do anything, we have this conversation about like gender.
No Diddy.
Yeah. You feel me? But we have a conversation
up, man.
about gender wars. Specifically for really actually all of y'all. How has masculinity driven a wedge between black men and black women? And how, when we get to 2026, 2028, can we do some shit about it?
I'll tell you what you gotta do. Brothers, heterosexual brothers, have to love and respect sisters. We have to stop calling them bitches and hoes. You know, it's okay to have your rap and all that, but there's something that deep goes into the degradation of our sisters. When we talk about women and they're here for black empowerment and beauty, we gotta kind of be into that. You know, we gotta demonstrate that we can love, respect, and protect. That we can be the man they're supposed to be. For our gay brothers, we got to demonstrate the same level of love and respect to our sisters. Doesn't matter our sexuality, we've got to respect black women. And we cannot let anybody else disrespect them.
That's law.
That's important.
I think, well, first thing what we have to do as black men, we have to realize something, right? We're talking about black men and stereotypes and all of these things. We have to realize, for as much as we've been through the history of us, especially in this country,
Yes.
That black women are the most attacked being on this planet, right? And when you understand that, it falls to us first to be not just, people always say like protect, but also be supportive, right? Understanding and how to let black women flourish. And that does mean sometimes protecting. That does mean standing in the void. That does mean being there to not allow so many of the things that we see consistently to happen. But that also means for black men that we got to check each other and check ourselves. That's the most important thing, because if we want to see that world where all black men respect, honor, and love black women. My wife is here with me. I tell her, I don't do nothing. You got to ask the boss first before you can ask me to do anything. I have to check with her first, because we're talking about doing life together and making sure that we're growing our family together. If we want this next generation of folks coming behind us to be in a point that we do that, then we have to show that. Then we have to check that in ourselves, and we have to be just decisively different, especially than what we saw in the generation of our parents, and showing black women. For me, and that means opening doors for them. That means giving up your seat to them. I know for me, I tell this story all the time. When I was on the city council, and you can appreciate this. I know, Malcolm, you might not yet, but you will very soon. You'll get to that point where you know, I've done everything I can do in this seat. It's gonna be up or I'm out. But I intentionally reached out and recruited a young black woman to come and work for me as a staff person first, right? Because I was the first black person to have my seat. And she told me no at first, but I wore her down, and then she came. And then she followed me on the city council, and now she's been elected twice and is now the chair of the budget committee. Black men got to do that instead of just saying like we're just going to shut the door in the face of black women.
Let me piggyback on that, because that's a key point. My wife is a brigadier general in the United States Army. I'm proud of my wife. I have no problem when we go to her events just sitting back. It's your show, man.
Amen. I love an event like that.
Hey, don't talk to me. Talk to the boss. So we have to not be intimidated by sisters who are doing it.
Because they are.
We need to encourage sisters doing it.
And they take me to the worst
love
thing.
them and push them up sometimes we feel in that whole macho thing, I'm the man of the house. I got to make more money. I got to be the one in control. No, man, it's 2025. We meet in the middle and we bring it all in one pot. Yeah. And we don't divide or keep score among each other. We got to recognize and we got to uplift our sisters who are doing well, encourage them to do it and not be intimidated by
Do
it.
whatever's I'm gonna be carrying a breast pump bag in about 5 minutes. So that's how you do whatever's necessary.
Shout out to you. Hey, before you add to that, I think right now we're getting at something really important. And I'm just curious, what do y'all think it is about black women's progress that make it so many of our brothers are being intimidated? During the election time, I was doing a lot of conversations, and there was a lot of brothers that felt like because black women are more educated or because black women are more represented, quote unquote, in the Democratic Party, this means that black men being left behind. How can we push at that?
We can't compete against each other. We can't have circular firing squads. It's a trick of the enemy to make us compete against each other. It's a trick of the enemy to make me count your money instead of mine. It's a trick of the enemy to make me talk about my sisters instead of uplifting them. It's a trick of the enemy to keep us fighting over crumbs while they're dividing billions. Brothers, we got to be smarter. Right. We got to work harder. We got to come together. We got to love each other. We got to protect each other. We got to defend each other. And these sisters have had the hardest time of anybody in this country.
Right.
And now it's time for us to love them hard, love them deep, care for them, protect them, not just emotionally or sexually, but just people you don't even know, lift them up. Because that's what we got to do. And that's what we were built to do.
Well, so interestingly, black women are the most educated cohort in the country right now, right? There's no cohort of people that is attaining degrees at the level of black women. What I think is interesting about that is I think that happened out of necessity. I don't think that a lot of families had a vision for their daughters that was specific to a certain level of buckets, and so a lot of black women had to go to college and figure it out. It was, I'm going to school, I'm gonna figure out what I wanna be when I get to school, and then I'm gonna go get my master's degree because I figured out some stuff in college. I think one of the things is we have very interesting ways that we envision black malehood and its future, and then the way that black women have had to figure it out. I think specifically about, I used to be a teacher, I used to be an educator, I used to coach sports. And watching how families would invest in sports for their sons, but not have a similar investment in their daughters. So their daughters were then using education as a way to make something happen because no one would for them. So I think to the question, I think black women are figuring it out because they're actually developing a vision for themselves that is beyond a couple of buckets of athlete or of musician or whatever, where we have, as a culture, invested in black men towards those elements because those things can make you money. What I've tried to do with my kids is I've tried to create in them, as my parents said for me, new visions of what's possible. So for me and my family, I was like, I'm a decent athlete, but I'm not gonna be an NBA player. I'm gonna be a judge. Why? Because my dad was gonna go to Vanderbilt Law, got called to the ministry, went to one of the top seminaries in the country. So in my mind, there was a vision, there was a pathway forward. I want to develop that for both my sons and my daughters, but I also think we need to recognize that part of it is black men feel like they're being left behind because they didn't get the dream they had, and then many men stopped while black women kept evolving, and we gotta close that gap by changing that vision and also elevating young black men and saying, don't stop here. I know you blew out your knee. Okay, what now? What do we do now? And it doesn't have to be a degree. There are so many trades that people can be a part of where you can make good money, and we as a community will benefit from more plumbers and more electricians, but we have to actually give a new vision of what success can look like for our black men beyond some of the stereotypical buckets we put them in.
But Wayne, I think you make up a great point, and the word that comes to mind is value. Unfortunately, there are too many black men that think that by celebrating black women, it's devaluing us. Yes. Right? There isn't enough space to celebrate the sort of educational attainment that you just highlighted. Right? There isn't enough space to defend, right? To open up the opportunities, right? But that's a fallacy, right? And it's rooted, right, in sort of the insecurities of the lack of vision. right? Whereas for black men, like, we need to celebrate and respect. That's another word that comes to mind, right? Because when you're talking about, well, we can't call our black women bitches and hoes, right? We can't call ourselves, nigga and the like, right? That's about how you see yourself, right? It's about saying, no, it is honorable, right, to be a plumber, right? For too long, we've been saying that if you had a white collar job, that's success, right? While the majority of Americans will never know that, right? Majority of Americans, my father was a construction worker for 35 years. And that man worked hard, he was the definition of hard work in my life, right? He had the respect, the love, the admiration that I think for too often when we're celebrating black women in particular, I think subconsciously too many black men are saying, well, what about me, right? And what we're not acknowledging, right, are the sort of systems that make you feel like if you're not a rapper, if you're not an athlete, if you're not an entertainer, right, you don't have value. And what's also compounding those sort of negative stereotypes internally, right, are things like this about the microphone, are things like the phone, right, where every single body who is not seen gets to act like the expert, right? And there's a difference between experience and expertise.
Well.
And when you lift up black women in
That's a
particular,
word.
so many of them are now experts, hard stop. And what we have to recognize is to say, black man, it's not necessarily your fault. That's the piece about seeing you, right? That maybe we had a negative or a limiting vision for who you could be. Yes. That's on us. That's on the people who were charged to lead you, but something got lost along the way, right? And so I think about when we're talking about sort of, the chasm that exists, right? And in some instances, the envy that exists, right? Because there are certain pressures that comes with being a man in society, let alone a black man. And we feel as though our sisters are absolved from that. That's another fallacy, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's about sort of making space to say, you know what, to your point, Congressman, we are absolutely valuable. When we're talking about culture, that is our value, but the currency runs deep. It is in every field, right? It is in every country, right? And that is something that until we internally have a sort of a greater sense of self, of our personal identity, we're constantly going to be sacrificing each other and looking externally for someone that's better, brighter, and allegedly in a better position.
And let me just add this last thing to this, and everything that was said was perfect. I would add this, though, and this is the real piece, that we talk about black men being vulnerable. We talk about black men getting blue-collar jobs. We talk about all these different things. But there is like a social penalty to black men actually doing the things we just say they need to do.
Yeah.
And it's why I brought into this space, the importance of us sort of destigmatizing what it means to be gay. And black women, I hang out with y'all. If you want to take down your brother, you know exactly what to say to make him feel like the way you want him to feel in that particular moment. And so when we penalize the very vulnerability we're asking black men to have, then we say to those black men who might have been taking that leap, you proved everything that I knew would happen when I come out. The whole pop the balloon thing, as popular as that is, I think it's deeply dangerous because it incentivizes this very culture that stigmatizes men and says, if you get outside of this box, we will use certain language to diminish you for stepping out of line. If you don't have a certain job, then we're going to use certain language to diminish you. If you have a therapist, we're going to use certain language to diminish you, for doing that and engaging in the very things that we're saying we want black men to do. And so I think one of the things that we have to not be shy about, and certainly, as Democrats, we can't be shy about, it's great to talk about black women. But we should also explicitly talk about black men.
Yeah.
We should very explicitly talk about what the agenda is for men. There is nothing wrong with doing that. And so we have gotten really good at engaging, organizing black women. And when we talk to black men, it's from a deficit of what haven't you done? And why are you hyper masculine? And why are you toxically masculine? And why aren't you doing this and doing that? And so one of the things that I think it sort of dovetails with the last question about the red pilling, which I'm going to be thinking about a lot, is we have to celebrate that it is okay to be a man and create spaces where we value what masculinity means. And instead of from this space of being the dominator, we have to talk about men as being protectors. The same frame of being tough, of being hard, but to reframe it of how do you use that to actually protect our communities. And I think as bad as this bill was that just passed, I think it presents an opportunity for a lot of black folks who did not see themselves as political to step in and now protect their communities in the same way that we saw in 2018 a wave of women run for office because, there were a lot of women who were upset about not just that Hillary lost, but upset about what it meant that a qualified woman could lose, and a lot of black women who were enraged, and a lot of black men, by the way, enraged by the way the vice president was treated throughout that process simply for running and daring to think that a woman could. But in this moment, where we are about to see healthcare ripped away in ways that we're talking about, but we're about to conceptualize and really feel in a second, I hope that there's a wave of brothers that step up who are mechanics, who are Joe the plumbers, who are just regular guys, step up and run for office and say, I have seen the way our community is under attack, and I'm gonna step up as a protector in my community, as somebody who's completely apolitical, but who's gonna now step into that political space the way I saw a lot of, homemakers and teachers and other women do in 2018. And, nothing against our sisters, but I hope that in this next election in 2026, we see a lot of black men who are bus drivers, who are working minimum wage jobs, who have no degree, step up and say, this government belongs to me as well, and I don't have to be a lawyer to be the black man who steps up into these political spaces.
For sure. And just one last thing. Yes, one last thing, real quick. I think when we talk about the idea of accountability in these gender wars, I know I have been eviscerated online because I have gone out of my way to make sure that I am holding men accountable for the egregious things that they say and do on the internet, right? I know we've both been called panderers, right? We've been called, you think you a woman? Are you trans now? Are you gay? All kinds of crazy stuff. We have made sure that we are setting the tone that men will hold men accountable in these gender wars. And I'm asking ladies that you also use your critical thinking skills as well. And when these gender war conversations come along, there are a lot of times we'll be right there to be like, nah, he was wrong for that. But if you see your sister wrong, don't put all of us in a bad position because you won't hold your sister accountable as well. That's what I'm asking. I told you I'd be quick.
Yeah, and with that being said, I'm hoping that we was purposely provocative one way or another in this old panel, and that y'all have a lot of burning questions to engage us with. As y'all see, we are very long-winded, and we are looking for those questions. So, don't be too shy at all.
If you don't ask, we'll just start talking.
Hey, how y'all doing? Thank you so much for the panel. Let's give them a round of applause, everybody. Education's elevation.
You know it is.
All right. So I heard y'all talking about the big, beautiful bill earlier. We know that is leading itself to a lot of people losing health care. We're talking about mental health, so many things today. I'm really curious, what advice do you have for someone who feels hopeless with everything that they see, whether it's turning to social media, and we know what we see on social media, right? Or some of the folks, we talked about people who aren't engaged or who aren't involved, or some of the folks who might want to get involved but they don't know where to start. What kind of advice would you have for someone who is of that stature?
Can I jump on that real quick, brother? Because I'm going to have to leave you guys in a minute. We got a lot of events going on, and I got just a little bit of voice left. But, brother, that's a great question. And let me tell you, we as a people, we have endured some of the worst atrocities that any human beings can endure, and we've survived. Here's your encouragement. Brother, we are too rich, too strong, too smart, too blessed to give up. The only time you lose is when you quit. I'm so encouraged with these young brothers on the stage. I'm so encouraged with your question and these smart, talented, beautiful sisters in this room. Brother, we've been knocked back for a second, but we're not knocked out. We're not knocked out. This big, ugly bill, we spent 30 plus hours on the House floor. My dear brother, leader of our party, Hakeem Jeffries, who's going to be the first African-American Speaker of the House, bank it, spoke for nearly an hour talking about the pain, the atrocities, the unconstitutional, the illegal, the immoral acts, the abomination of this bill. But never once in that 9-hour spread was any despair. Never once in that 9-hour hope was any retreat. Never any in that 9 hours was there any woe is me. You know what it was? We will get through this. We will win. You can trip us. You can even knock us down. But we're going to get back up because that's who we are. Brother, I want you to know that you are young, gifted, and black, and we are dependent on you to take the baton, as those of in Congress now will pass it to the younger brothers and sisters. Be encouraged. Know that you are loved, you are smart, you are valuable, you are treasured, and you can be whatever the hell you want to be. Just be. God bless you.
Yes, and can we give a round of applause for Representative Troy? He has to leave us. Busy man, busy man, busy man.
If I could real quick in response to that as well, intentionally unplug. And I'm saying that as a person who makes money off of people watching my content. Intentionally unplug is there are times where you have to step away, you have to walk away, and rest is resistance, right? There is like being worn out. We're gonna be worn out, but being worn out consistently won't actually do anything. And so, like, I think there are so many resources online. We're out here talking and trying to point people in the directions to go, right? There's local chapters of both in nonprofits and in the political space. But like, so I took my kids to Disney about a month ago, and for 3 days I didn't get on TikTok. I knew stuff was happening, but for those 3 days, the only time I got on, that's not true, I got on TikTok to make funny videos with my kids about going to different rides. I needed that. Because had I not done that, I would have been more burnt than I am. And so I'm saying, take the time that when you can to intentionally unplug, because we're going to get back in the fight from there.
And just in case so y'all didn't know, because we didn't put it in the bio, Malcolm Kenyatta is the vice chair of the DNC.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
I want to make sure, I don't know if we put that in there, I want to make sure that's in there. I think in the conversation about black men and having power, it's important to always acknowledge the various ways that we implicated in that policy-making process. So shout out to you for sure.
Yes,
who has the next question?
Right here. Me, I do. So my question specifically is for either Malcolm or Brandon or Conscious and Wayne, because I know y'all make content and then y'all are going to be the people who educate folks. I'm specifically concerned in the bill about student loans and the fact that like Grad Plus loans were deleted. I know we talked about like you can get a trade job. What kind of work are y'all going to do to educate folks on what was changed around student loans? Like someone like me who's a millennial who owes loans but doesn't know what's going to be happening with them. And how do we connect people with those trade jobs? Because they did extend Pell Grants to folks who want to do short-term certification programs. So how are y'all going to get that information out to people in Baltimore and Philly and online?
Yeah, I think it's multiple ways. It's a great question, sister. So for us, what we're doing for the college portion of it, right? So for us, we have an organization that does that for the entire city and within city schools. So it's called the College Bound Foundation. So we're already talking about that. We talked about it in our board meeting in preparation to the big hideous bill last week to talk about how we're going to now have to flip the way that our college guidance counselors are working with our young people and their families to make sure that they know exactly what the new rules are, right? Because the truth is, if it were not for this organization, I wouldn't have went to college. So we're have to do it in that way. And then we're going to have to expand that across to make sure that our returning students know we have a college through college model that we're going to continue to follow. We have to do it that way by touching all of those directly impacted and those who may now be in the pipeline. It's also causing us to change the way that we're thinking about our early college access program, because we try to start with our young people in 8th grade, right, to make sure that we're now readjusting. When it comes to the trades, for us, we actually going to see that as a little bit of opportunity, because I actually just started in Baltimore our own infrastructure academy where we're taking young people who just graduated from high schools. We have many high schools in Baltimore. None of them are better than mine. It's the largest high school in the city. It just happens to be a Vo-Tech school, right? When I was in high school, I was a certified person in computer programming. We have HVAC, we have plumbing, we have all of those things. And now we'll be taking those young people when they graduate to work for the city, to work for other companies. And now we'll use this opportunity because now we'll be able to help us fund things, hopefully like CDL and all these other things that we need them to have when they come and work for us so that we can balance it out. And it's about getting that information out, working with our partners in labor as they also are going to be working with the folks that they're bringing into their apprenticeship programs and training. And then also, this is the time online. Everything that I do is online. We put out everything from youth jobs. All of that information will also be siphoned out to Baltimoreans through my social media so that no one can ever say that we didn't tell people that these things were changing.
So I think, in all this viciousness, we have a real opportunity. The Congresswoman said this at a brunch earlier, and I think it's spot on. As painful as this is going to be, and it is. We should not underscore or undersell what is happening, what's about to happen. If you are paying back your student loans, your payment is about to increase 3-4 time fold.
That's me.
Like present company included. We're going to all be figuring it out. But I think this is an opportunity, frankly, for us to vision around a system that actually works for us, because the previous system wasn't working for us either in many ways. And so we have to do two things at the same time. The first, we have to engage in consistent accountability around the people who voted for this bill. And the thing that pisses me off the most is that you have people who voted for a bill that they knew was bad. Now, it's one thing to vote for a bill, we have a difference of opinion, and you celebrate it, we had a different idea. It's another thing to vote for a bill that you don't even agree with because you are a coward. And I will tell you this, politics is hard. It's so hard. It really is. And it takes a lot to be in this work in any capacity or level. But the thing you have to have more than anything else is courage. If you do not have courage, don't be in this job. And I'm telling you, these jobs are not what people think they are. Okay, I think the only thing you really get for being a member of the House majority in Pennsylvania is like, we get free ice cream. We got free ice cream in the fridge. That's nice. I don't know what else you really get. And so to see some of these elected officials who spend every day doing everything possible to stay in a job that they don't even particularly seem to want is very interesting to me. So let me just say that. But the second thing is, as we have that conversation, making sure we're saying to people who is accountable for the loss of food stamps, who is accountable for their inability to go to the doctor, who is accountable for them seeing the price for their energy bills and for their student loans going up, we have to also then use this as an opportunity to say, when you give us the ability to serve and to lead, how do we then create systems that actually work? And how, when we get power, that we don't go in with this half-ass scared stuff. If Donald Trump has not proven anything else, is that nobody gives a damn about, we need 6 votes and 12 votes and all this. When we get power, we better be unafraid to use it. And we better use it. If the parliamentarian says no, we ought to figure out somebody who's going to get us to yes. Or how do we rewrite it so it gets us to yes? If we're in a position to be an executive authority, how do we use every single tool at our disposal to make life better for folks with the same vigor and intensity that these people use their power to make life worse for folks? And so we have two things that we need to do at the same time.
That was a mic drop for you now.
Yeah.
Damn
So
it.
I just want to quickly add something really quick to the sister's question. Institutions are going to be invaluable right now, right? We have to invest, and this also goes to the brother's question. We have to be investing in institution organizations like the Urban League, like the NAACP, and you have to be investing with the critical thing, your gifts. You are the currency that is going to make us run either for or against the initiatives that Malcolm just outlined, right? And here's another important thing about institutions, and to the point that you made about rest. Institutions like mine, who have been in our community for 86 years, they provide you with cover to give you actual rest. Because we can weather the storms that individuals can't take on your own. And so there is power in community. There's also necessity in community. And so we have to be thinking about, so the involvement is not just about running for public office. It's about meeting your community where they are. And sometimes we overlook the opportunities of institutions that are fighting for you every single day. Sure. And the one thing that will make Urban League of Louisiana better are more Louisianans. The one thing that's gonna make the National Urban League better are more black people just answering the call to come and serve with your gifts. That's just a fact. And until we start doing that for ourselves, then we're constantly gonna be looking to somebody else to have that answer for us. And the last thing I'll say is the institutions, and when we invest in them, they are already investing in us. So to your point about trades, we're so proud of the Urban League to be investing in apprenticeships, right? For jobs with livable wages, in green energy, in answering about plumbers and about mechanics. We are training the leaders that we need every single day. So please don't miss the opportunity to invest in those that are investing in you.
Hi, brothers. Today was amazing. I really appreciate it, what you had to say today. Today's panel is also about health and wellness. A health question coming. The Congresswoman gave us two stories in her opening remarks. I believe it was her father and her husband, one who listened, one who didn't, one who went to the doctor and got checked and did what he was supposed to do, and the other who didn't. So health insurance is about to change. Our healthy lifestyles, being healthy. You talked a lot about our minds. We talked a lot about politics. But can y'all please talk a little bit about healthy lifestyles and how we need to be healthy to win this fight? Because we can't do it if we're not. Can you talk a little about that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that I always say, and I preach this actually, you cannot be the best whatever you are, whether it's a mayor, HVAC, police officer, whoever, if you're not the best mental and physical you. And for us, that also means that we have to think about our health in a different way, right? We have to think about what we intake into our bodies. We were all joking backstage because I don't eat pork. The rest of the brothers on the stage do. But
don't put that on me. Ain't no song.
You were gone. You were gone. My bad. You were gone.
Okay, so they bookend don't eat swine in the middle.
The bacon eaters in the middle. The bacon eaters in the middle.
Swine eaters.
The swine caucus.
The swine caucus. But I say that to say we have to also evolve around what we put into our bodies. We also know we have to evolve around making sure the same conversation goes about black men and therapists and black men and doctors. We are having this conversation with my dad right now about his health, right? To the point where I got frustrated last week because he wasn't listening to the doctor, and I went to the one person on the planet that I know he has to listen to at all times, his big brother. I called my uncle. My uncle said, "What do you mean he's not listening?" My uncle went over to his house. My father called me back. "All right, I'm going to start physical therapy next week," just like that, right? That's what we have to normalize that, because we have to, and we have to be unashamed in taking that time for ourselves, no matter what role we have, right? Infamously, I was stalked by a TV station. It's an animal, begin with F, end with X, when I was just going simply out to play in my flag football game, right? Because that's a part of me staying in shape, being healthy. Sure. And the reporter, DEI. Yeah, DEI, duly elected incumbent, definitely earned it. Yes. But the reporter asked me a question. She said, "Mr. Mayor, all the things going on in the city, why do you have time to come out here and play football?" And my response to her was, "Well, did you follow all the previous mayors to the bar when they went to the bar at the same time? Did you follow the previous mayor to the bar when he was in a band? Did you follow the governor, previous governor, not the governor now, I love my governor now. Did you follow Governor Hogan to a cigar lounge?" She's like, "No, why?" I said, "Well, it's not my fault that I'm healthy and in shape and they weren't." Right? We have to change the way that we think about that. And we think that just because you're a mayor or a teacher or something, that you shouldn't have time for your own physical well-being. Because we have been going away from this place too quickly for too long because we haven't taken care of ourselves. We have to take care of ourselves from here on down, inside and out.
Yeah, and, no, you got it.
So one of the things, I'm so glad you asked that question. The proudest thing I've done as an advocate is fight for food desert mitigation.
Yes.
The win on either side of the aisle, and I hope that people who are ideologically aligned with me are listening. Mitigating food deserts has to be a priority. There are so many people in so many communities around the country who don't have access to healthy food options. That's a major problem. It's a winnable issue. And when we're talking about, well, how do we get people to see us in our policy perspectives, right? How we feed each other is a fundamental issue that we have to be talking about. And so one of the things that I'm so proud about is that I actually got a bill passed in Louisiana, right? And ended up being vetoed, that's a whole nother conversation. But that was also critically important because when we're talking about narrative, right, and we're talking about holding folks accountable, we have to be able to go to them and say, wait, you're against providing fruits and vegetables in neighborhood Y, but you support it and fund it in neighborhood Z, right? That is a really important thing right now. And so I really hope that we take that to heart about the necessity and the need to make sure that we are providing, that we're funding. There are so many grants out there that people can be getting to feed people who need it.
I definitely think that we need the policy around it for sure. I know when I'm engaging with people and I'm talking about what you're saying, the response I'm usually hit with is that's some white shit. So for me as an educator, I think about how do we destigmatize the racial and class implications of taking care of yourself. So if we start being health conscious and start thinking about what we're eating, you'll be surprised by how many people has pathologized eating healthy as being some white shit. Yeah. So for me, it's thinking about who taught you this, where does it come from, who benefits from it, and why you have much more inclined towards the artificial shit, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes you gotta meet a person where they at to use their language, but also being like, why you think this some white shit? So if you eat like this.
And to that point, and to something that Malcolm said earlier, if you go on TikTok and you start typing in healthy alternatives to blank, you are 5 or 6 videos from being on the right wing side of TikTok. It is wild how much the right has co-opted the idea of health. And so I have a series I'm starting with a couple content creators here in the fall where I'm calling it father figure. So I don't have a dad bod, I'm developing a father figure. And we're just going to...
Yo.
And so we're just, and all we're going to do is we're just going to work out. We're going to make videos while working out and talking about different things that are happening in policy or talking about parenting or talking about different mental health things. And so I want to try to create new pipelines, right? That when we talk about working out and being in shape, I don't want that to automatically lead you to some right-wing influencer. I want you to come my way.
Logan Paul.
Where I want you to come my way where I'm going to tell you that you actually need to take accountability for what's going on in your own head and talk to somebody about I want to try to, because to your point, those two things have been so intrinsically tied, we have been pathologized to believe that anything that could be for the betterment of ourselves is white folk shit. And that's a problem.
I'm old.
And
I feel old now because I'm not on TikTok, and y'all just keep talking about TikTok.
You gotta
that's
get on TikTok.
No,
You're very
Come on,
TikTokable and
Listen.
viral.
I also banned TikTok from all city devices, but that's a whole nother.
We tried to do that in Pennsylvania. I voted against it. Let me say this quickly.
Wow.
I did vote against it.
You messed with my livelihood, man.
Let me say this quickly because it gives me an opportunity to put her on the spot. But one of my colleagues is here, Representative Gina Curry. Stand up, Gina. Let me embarrass you.
Yeah.
Stand up, Gina.
Yeah.
She's the best.
You gotta say where Gina's from originally, though.
Oh my gosh, I'm
That's
not getting
right.
into that. Gina lives in Delco in Pennsylvania right now.
Proud
She's from Maryland.
Baltimore girl.
She is Baltimore girl. But I'm just gonna say this because Gina can back me up. I ran for the U.S. Senate against John Fetterman 4 years ago. I'm just saying.
He don't want to stand Fetterman. He don't want to be in the job. He don't even want to be there.
There was an option. I ran for that seat. So I make this point to say after the race, tough for all the different ways, but I was feeling just not good. And I went to the doctor at the time, at the end of that race, After 2 weeks of laying on the couch, ordering McDonald's, sitting in my sadness, went to the doctor. I weighed 298 pounds. I went in, they took my blood sugar. My blood sugar was 340 something. The doctor immediately was like, I'm giving you insulin right now. You cannot leave with your blood sugar at this level. My dad did not make it to 60. His dad did not make it to 50. Both of them had diabetes, and I mentioned Gina because Gina has seen this transformation. The last 2.5 years, I've lost over 100 pounds. And I have started, to your point, I'm inviting myself to this father figure of series.
Yeah.
But I've started to this point, like doing videos, talking about politics as I'm out running. And like really begun to engage in that without like saying like you need to be working out or running, but just allowing people to see that journey. And to your point about taking that time for yourself, a part of the whole influencer culture that made it really difficult just for me, this might help somebody in the room, is you have the guy, I don't forget the name, where he waking up at 4:30 in the morning, he's putting his face in the water, whatever.
Yeah.
No, but I had so many people like, well, you need to wake up at 6 a.m. and then you got to start your day with yoga or whatever that shit was. I'm somebody who needs to go to the gym at night. I go to the gym at like 8 o'clock,
That's right.
9 o'clock, when nothing else is going on, and take that hour for myself. And so for me, the final thing that I'll say when people ask me, other than listening to my doctor, doing all the boring stuff that you know you need to do, is changing the way I talk to myself about my health. If being crappy to yourself worked, it would have already worked.
Right.
If just telling yourself that you ain't shit, if that worked, all of you know you are your harshest critic. Don't nobody know the way your hair ain't looking right today, the way this ain't looking right today. You know exactly how to make yourself feel horrible. And so a lot of times it's easier to externalize that conversation and talk about your haters and the people who commented on your post. But the first person who judged your post was you.
Yeah.
Before you
Yeah.
even put it out. And so I would just say to folks who are here who are like thinking about like what you need to do to take control of your health, just be good to yourself. My god sister said something to me years ago, and I say it to everybody when I like part ways. I say, be good to yourself. Because we are shitty to ourselves. The way we talk to ourselves and treat ourselves is awful. And I think through this journey, and it is an ongoing journey, the thing that I've tried to change is to be nice to Malcolm. If I want to eat something that's not on the whatever, I'm going to do that. And also, I'm going to go for that run later. And I don't have to spend the rest of the day making myself feel like garbage because I'm going to get some beignets before I leave here. I just need you to know. And I'm going to eat all three. I'm not like I'm eating all three of them.
Facts.
And I think that is important in this conversation about health because if the idea is that you are going to eat 900 calories every single day, that's just not going to happen. It's not realistic. But if you talk to yourself the way that you want other people to talk to you, I think that puts you in the best position to do the positive things that you need to do to yourself. And so I know we're wrapping up, and I will say to you all now, if I don't get to say it to you personally, be good to yourself.
Yes.
Please be good to yourself.
So I have one thing to end on, because I think this is the last comment or question. So my name is State Representative Gina H. Curry. I'm served with my brother Malcolm up there on the stage.
Brother Malcolm.
And I am from Baltimore, but I ended up in Pennsylvania. But I just want to bring up the point that the things that I fight for so much in the House of Representatives in Pennsylvania is health equity. One of the things that happened to me personally is that I saw my husband, who was a Division I athlete, die of a heart disease issue at 51. When I think about you black men, all of you are young up on the stage. What I'm not seeing a lot of, except for the congressman there who had to leave, is you're not getting to pick up your retirement check. You're not getting to be with your women or your partners, your men, through retirement because you're dying. And so one of the things that I just want to lift up today is the fact that these women who were in the room, who were sitting here, They deserve to have you throughout their lives, not to be cut short because of health. But the biggest thing is not to beat up on black men. It's about health equity. Once you get to these doctors, what we see is more medications are given. What we see is that they're not listening to us. So one of the things that I fight for big time in the House of Representatives in Pennsylvania is around black maternal health, where women are not listened to during their birthing journey and they die. Well, guess what? The same thing is happening to men, but we're not naming it. It's not being named. I don't know how many of you are on Facebook, because a lot of you are young and you're probably just on IG.
I'm on Facebook.
Okay, but Facebook now is a place to me where we are seeing more obituaries than life. And it's black men who are dying between the ages of 45 and 60. What is happening to us? So I ask you all today, how do we look at policy? You know, in our caucus, in our 203, we have something called the Women's Health Caucus. We have the PA Women's Commission. We have the Black Maternal Health Caucus. I'm on all three, but I see nothing for men. There's not one thing that I see for men that's lifting up the fact that we're losing men, particularly black men, before the age of 60.
So first of all, I'm so sorry for your loss. And also thank you for using that loss as a way to advocate for more people. And I think that that's one of the things. So I'm having active conversations with my dad, and everything that he talks to me that he's experiencing, I'm taking note of. Because I'm like, okay, what did granddad die of? What was that? Okay. And then what did the doctor say? Okay, you have high blood pressure. Cool. They said mine's a little on the high side. Cool. What did they say that you need to do? I want to hear what they told you need to do, and I'm going to make that adjustment at 35. And so I think one of the things that we talk about in the black community all the time is how recipes get passed on generation to generation. I think we need to start passing on health information from generation to generation, because these things are hereditary. And so and for real. And so I think that, and I'm saying that because I'm not on the political side making the policies. But at the same time, I think that I can do a better job of advocating. Sometimes there are things that I am intentionally doing for myself, right? Conversations I'm listening to my dad talk about his mental health. What are the things that what are the things that are messing with him? What did you and granddad talk about? Like, I'm always wanting to know those things so I can figure out and try to make those adjustments. Now, I could do a better job of advocating some of those conversations across the board, because once again, I don't want to be in the spot where I'm having to call, because I can't call my dad's big brother because he died. Right? He died at 53, to your point. And so that was the thing that got my dad serious about his own heart health. He had been told by doctors over and over and over again. So now I'm like, what are they telling you need to do? Okay, how do we make those adjustments? Because if I can make those adjustments now, maybe I can prevent myself from being in that spot later on. So thank you for advocating, and I will join you in your experience to continue to advocate so more people don't have to experience it.
Thank y'all. God bless you. Good night.
Yeah, appreciate you.
Well,
Love you,
before
Gene.
you leave, thank you everyone for joining us. But before I let these gentlemen leave the stage, I want to extend our gratitude. This has been excellent. I think that we had an amazing discussion. All of you are wonderful, and we're wonderful on this panel. Please consider, when you are making all the content, to do it with us.
Absolutely.
I would love that, personally. But additionally, if you could stand up so that we can give you a round of applause, as well as take a photo with the group, that would be great. And thank you to our wonderful panelists. We really appreciate you. Thank you. Yes, I also want to let everyone know that this was wonderful. We are so happy to have you here. We also have extended our bar 1 hour. If you would like to continue to drink and eat, you are welcome to do so in the space. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you all.
Do they?
One guy really